Okay, so this website launched about a week ago. Has anybody heard of it yet? No? Okay, so I did some work on this website. Stephen Cross, who's been here a couple of times, he's from Rhode Island. I work on the podcast with him. He's a co-founder of the NetCamp. ACP is a client of his. The idea behind this project is ACP is a nonprofit organization that helps military veterans that get out of the Army or the military to find a new career. It's mainly a mentoring and services company. It stands for American Corporate Partners. They're a nonprofit that works with all the Fortune 500 companies. And this year they decided to launch a social media campaign asking people to give back to the military. That happens in three main ways. One is with the Give Them 20. You can choose to give, you can see right there on the screen, you can dedicate 20 push-ups to the military. A second thing that you can do, and which is probably more helpful, is you can dedicate 20 minutes of time a week or a month answering questions on their career forums, helping people choose a career that will be suitable for their skills. Or, of course, you can donate money. This nonprofit is fairly well funded, so it's far more helpful for the nonprofit if you donate your time. Anyway, Stephen was approached by his client about 3 months ago when he came up with this social media campaign. It's based similarly on the Ice Bucket Challenge last year, where you do your 20 of something and then you challenge somebody else. As you can see, it's already got some fairly notable people. Jimmy Kimmel did his 20 today. Jon Stewart did his last week. The Mets did theirs Saturday or Sunday, I don't remember which. So it's got some, some fairly well-known people contributing. The premise behind the website is actually pretty interesting. As you can see, there's little Twitter icons, Facebook icons, and other things showing up on the website. You can see over here, YouTube. This website is pulling posts from all the major social media networks and importing them into Drupal. So if you post something #GiveThem20 on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and a couple of others, within 15 minutes it's going to show up in this website. And there's a lot of services out there that provide like an iframe and give you some tools to control what's happening with the information on the back end. For example, content filtering, profanity filtering, that kind of thing. But there's not very many services out there that give you the information in a format that you can import it. It was important for this particular project that it gets imported because they need to be able to insert calls to action, delete things, remove things, make it searchable, general things that you do with content. So this is a content-rich site. When the campaign ends, all of this content will still be on here, whether or not they maintain the contract with the company that provides the API. If you have any questions about it, you can certainly talk to Stephen about it. He knows much more intimately about how it works. But I'll scroll down a little bit. Refresh it. Because it's also got one of those, it's a infinite scrolling site, so when you get to the bottom, sometimes it loads too fast. If you get to the bottom, you'll see that loading screen. And it just loads until it's at the end. Since it's only been about a week, there's only about 500 or 1,000 items, so you can get to the end. And that's where I came in. So the idea is this is a social media campaign. You never know if they're going to go viral or not. The hope is that it will. But if it does go viral, you'll never know when it's going to get a huge increase in traffic. So when we were doing some research, we found that at its height, the Ice Bucket Challenge would get between 650,000 and 1 million hits a day. which would be highly compressed in a very short period of time. So, as you can see, Jimmy Kimmel has done this, The Daily Show has done this, New York Mets, and it's only going to grow from there. If they get on the Today Show or something, they could very quickly get tens of thousands of hits in a couple hours, couple hour period. All of the videos and images are hosted on Facebook or Twitter, so it's not really so much that you have to worry about serving that. Their CDNs will take care of that. But if you get 5,000 retweets and then all of that content gets imported, and then you get a rush, you could have some problems. So I've got some experience with performance. So Stephen asked me to consult with him and come on board to help build a robust system for hosting it. So this system is hosted on Amazon. That's really the go-to place for high availability. We have 2 different availability zones. Then we set up 2 separate Varnish servers behind a load balancer, and then 2 separate Apache heads behind Varnish, and then I'm going to forget the name now, an RDS instance for MySQL, so that's also spread across separate availability zones. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is how easy it is. So if you've never set up Varnish, it's not the most straightforward thing, but it's also not the most difficult thing to configure. So this.
Can you explain what that is?
So Varnish is really, really cool. It really has nothing to do with Drupal, but it's a reverse proxy. So what it does is Varnish sits in between people coming to your website and your website. And somebody comes up to your website and says, I want to see the home page. And Varnish goes, do I have that? If yes, here it is. If they don't, then they turn around and go to your website and say, I need the home page. And then the next time somebody comes to the home page, it serves it back. We did some, and Varnish is very, very good at doing that. Very, very quick. To give you an idea, we ran, we used some tools to run some tests, and we decided to run a test against a site that had not really any caching and was running Drupal. And once we hit 15 concurrent users, it died. It just shut off. It was not very happy. When we ran similar tests against this website, once it was configured, we were able to hit more than 5,000 concurrent users, and we were barely hitting 70% CPU load. And that equates to something like 7 billion hits a month or something, which probably won't ever happen. So Varnish, generally quoted statistics are it can handle 3,000 concurrent users a second if stuff is already in the cache. So one of the really good things about this particular website, so one of the main things you need to think about when you're setting up Varnish is how many different URLs you have. So if you have tons and tons and a very broad set of URLs, then the odds of somebody hitting a page a second time go down incrementally. Where this page is pretty much just one home page, a popular page, and then you scroll down. Each time you hit a load, that's a separate page. It's using Ajax to call it. But everybody's hitting the same sequence of pages. It's not like one person is coming and going to page X and another person is going to page Y. So pretty much, the first person hit the page is, hitting Apache, and then everybody after that is hitting Varnish. So, Varnish is, if you have any inkling that you're going to have a high traffic website, I know that you're a big fan.
Yeah, well, I would say it's even great for small traffic websites.
Yeah.
In some ways, because like my blog, for example, which does not get the numbers you talked about, although I'd like to think it did, I have Varnish in front of it, and the expiration for the objects in cache is something like 2 or 3 months. So Varnish is serving absorbing all my traffic, and then I'll just clear them out of Varnish when I make updates to my blog, which is about every 2 or 3 months. But the idea is that it takes a lot of load off your server. So I have a DigitalOcean droplet that's the smallest thing I could possibly have that's running Varnish and Apache and MySQL on the same box. And MySQL crashed, and I didn't notice for 3 days because my website didn't go down. Drupal websites that can stand without databases are nice things.
Yeah.
That's usually where your problems come in.
So that was actually one of the considerations as well.